From marrying into American royalty to losing a French chateau and nearly her iconic New York townhouse, Sonja Morgan's financial collapse is one of the most dramatic in Real Housewives history. A failed John Travolta movie, a $7 million judgment, and 16 years of trying to sell ultimately ended with her legendary home becoming a sober living facility. Sonja met John Adams Morgan in the 1990s while working as a hostess at an Italian restaurant on Madison Avenue in New York City. She was in her 30s, beautiful, vivacious, and working her way through Manhattan's social scene. John Adams Morgan was 33 years older than Sonja, a member of one of America's most prominent families. His great-grandfather was the legendary financier J.P. Morgan, who founded J.P. Morgan and Company. They married in 1998 when Sonja was in her mid-30s and John was pushing 70. The couple paid $9.1 million cash for a 5-story townhouse at 162 East 63rd Street on Manhattan's Upper East Side. The 4,650-foot home had 5 bedrooms, 5.5 bathrooms, an elevator, 5 fireplaces, a formal dining room, a library, was an 800-square-foot basement, and a serene outdoor garden with a fountain and koi pond. It was situated on a tree-lined street between Lexington and 3rd Avenues, though unfortunately located directly beside a parking garage, which some believed affected its value from the start. The couple spent much of their marriage living on Caritas Island, a 3.5-acre private island at the tip of Wallace Point in Stamford, Connecticut that John owned, a 14,000-square-foot, 26-room estate sat on the property. They also owned a ski house in Telluride, Colorado, and a chateau in Ramatu, France, near Saint-Roch. Sonja gave birth to their daughter, Quincy Adams Morgan, named after President John Quincy Adams, continuing the family's tradition of presidential names. On paper, Sonja had married into the life every social climber dreams about: American royalty, multiple luxury properties, a daughter with presidential lineage, and entrance into the highest echelons of New York society. But the fairy tale marriage fell apart by 2006, just 8 years after they wed. The couple separated and began divorce proceedings that would drag on for years and ultimately destroy Sonja financially. The timing of their separation couldn't have been worse because they were in the middle of financing a movie project through Sonja's production company Sonja Productions, LLC. The film was called Fast Flash to Bang Time and was supposed to star John Travolta. Hannibal Pictures was set to produce the film, and Sonja's company had signed contracts promising to provide funding for the production. But when Sonja and John's marriage collapsed, they backed out of the movie project entirely. The divorce was contentious and expensive, and neither wanted to continue working together on a film that required them to be business partners. Hannibal Pictures sued Sonja and Sonja Productions LLC in 2006, claiming breach of contract for failing to provide the promised funding. The case went to court, and in September 2009, a judge awarded Hannibal Pictures a $7 million judgment against Sonja. $7 million for a movie that was never made. This single bad business decision during her divorce would haunt Sonja for over a decade. On November 5, 2010, Sonja filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. That same year, she joined the cast of Real Housewives of New York City for Season 3. The bankruptcy filing revealed that Sonja had $13.5 million in assets, but $19.8 million in debts. She was nearly $20 million in the hole. Approximately $7 million of that debt came from the Hannibal Pictures judgment. The rest came from mortgages, legal fees, and the cost of maintaining multiple luxury properties she could no longer afford after her divorce. According to the bankruptcy filings, Sonja still owned the $9.1 million New York townhouse and an $8 million French chateau in Ramatu, both listed as free and clear without mortgages at the time. She also had an interest in the Telluride ski house, though that property had significant mortgage debt. The bankruptcy court appointed a trustee to take control of Sonja's finances and develop a plan to pay back creditors. This meant Sonja no longer had complete control over her own money, properties, or business decisions. Everything had to go through the bankruptcy trustee. The bankruptcy case dragged on for years. Sonja submitted at least 2 reorganization plans that the bankruptcy court rejected as inadequate. Creditors pushed for her to sell properties immediately to pay them back. Sonja fought to keep the New York townhouse, arguing it was her primary residence where she was raising her daughter Quincy. The French chateau and Colorado ski house became bargaining chips in a complicated chess game between Sonja, her creditors, and her ex-husband John Adams Morgan. John complicated matters significantly by filing his own claims in Sonja's bankruptcy case. According to their divorce decree, John owed Sonja $3 million from the settlement, but he refused to pay, claiming he was destitute despite living on his private island in Long Island Sound. John argued that the divorce settlement had forced him to pay more than was listed in their prenuptial agreement. He believed Sonja owed him money rather than the other way around. When Sonja sold the French chateau and Colorado ski house to satisfy creditors, John demanded $6.2 million from the sale proceeds. He claimed he was entitled to $3.5 million for half the Colorado property's mortgage, plus $1 million for maintenance costs he'd paid on that property, plus $1.778 million for his 0.1% ownership share of the French home. The bankruptcy court had to sort through these competing claims, while Sonja tried desperately to hold on to the New York townhouse and film Real Housewives of New York. On the show, Sonja presented herself as a wealthy socialite with the Morgan name and all the prestige that came with it. But behind the scenes, she was broke. The townhouse became a symbol of her denial. She couldn't afford to maintain it properly. Pipes leaked. The heating system was temperamental. She famously had brown ice coming from her ice maker because the pipes were so old and rusty. The elevator frequently broke down. Her castmates started calling it Grey Gardens, referencing the famous HBO documentary about wealthy women living in a crumbling mansion they refused to leave. In June 2014, the bankruptcy trustee sold the French chateau for $5.7 million. In bankruptcy proceedings, night trustees can force the sale of assets to pay creditors, even if the debtor doesn't want to sell. Sonja had no choice. The Colorado ski house, which had been listed for $9.15 million, was sold with the proceeds going to American Home Mortgage Servicing to satisfy the $5.8 million mortgage, and the company took the deed to the property. Sonja also had to pay $600,000 to American Home Mortgage as part of that settlement. By 2015, the bankruptcy case was finally settled after 5 years of litigation. The court approved Sonja's reorganization plan, which required her to pay $6.95 million to Hannibal Pictures to satisfy the original judgment. All of John Adams Morgan's claims against Sonja in the bankruptcy case were disallowed, meaning he wouldn't get the $6.2 million he demanded. But the court also acknowledged that John still owed Sonja $3 million from their divorce settlement that she would likely never collect. With John approaching his mid-80s and claiming destitution while living on a private island, it appeared he intended to live out his life without addressing his obligations under the divorce decree. The one major victory for Sonja was that she got to keep the New York townhouse, but keeping it came with an enormous price. She had to take out a $3.3 million mortgage on the property to help pay off creditors. That meant she now had monthly mortgage payments on top of property taxes, odd maintenance costs, utilities, and repairs on a deteriorating mansion. The house wasn't just an asset anymore. It was an albatross around her neck, draining money every month she struggled to earn through Real Housewives paychecks, cameo videos, and failed business ventures. From 2008 through 2024, Sonja tried desperately to sell that townhouse. She first listed it in 2008 for $12 million. In 2009, unable to find a buyer, she dropped the price to $9.25 million. In 2010, during her bankruptcy proceedings, she listed it for $8.25 million, then $7.25 million before taking it off the market entirely to focus on the bankruptcy case. In 2013, amid her still ongoing divorce disputes with John, she listed it again for $9.95 million. The market wasn't cooperating, and potential buyers were turned off by the property's condition and location next to the parking garage. By 2018, Sonja tried a different strategy. She listed the townhouse for rent at $32,000 per month, hoping rental income would help her pay the mortgage and $350,000 she owed her bankruptcy attorneys. On the show, her castmates continued mocking the deteriorating conditions. The house needed serious renovations, but Sonja couldn't afford to do major work. She'd patched things here and there, but the fundamental problems persisted. In 2019, she optimistically listed the property for sale again at $10.75 million. The listing claimed the house came with staff including a butler, chef, driver, aunt gardener, 2 housekeepers, masseuse, personal trainer for yoga and Pilates, turn-down service, night valet, and parking garage access for an additional fee. Nobody bit. In 2020, Sonja lost her renters at the start of the co-pandemic and had to move back into the townhouse. She'd been living in a rental apartment in Columbus Circle, trying to transition away from the burden of the mansion. But if no one's renting the townhouse, I can't be shelling out cash every month to rent my little pied-à-terre in Columbus Circle, she explained on the show. She attempted renovations during the pandemic and relisted it for $8.75 million, calling it a CO discount. For the next 4 years, the property went on and off the market at various prices between $7.5 million and $8.75 million with zero success. By early 2024, Sonja had finally reached her breaking point. 16 years of trying to sell, 16 years of falling prices, 16 years of mounting debt and deteriorating conditions. She made the decision to auction the property with no reserve, meaning she would accept whatever the highest bid turned out to be, even if it was far below what she hoped. In April 2024, she announced the townhouse would go to online auction through Concierge Auctions in cooperation with broker Adam Lynn. The auction ran from May 15th through May 29th, 2024. There was no minimum bid, and Concierge Auction said beginning bids could range from $1.75 million to $3.75 million. When Sonja appeared on Watch What Happens Live on March 6, 2024, she explained her decision. Every time I would list it, I would rent it because I have to pay bills every month. This time I said auction it. I want out. I want a finite time. I am out. I sold the furniture. I'm feeling much lighter, and I'm figuring I'm going to eat more, sleep more, and get laid more. Was a moment of clarity and resignation. She'd finally accepted that clinging to the townhouse was destroying her financially and emotionally. The auction ended on May 29, 2024, with the highest bid at $4.45 million. After the 12% buyer premium was added, the final sale price came to $4.98 million. Sonja had purchased the property with her ex-husband for $9.1 million in 1998. She sold it for $4.98 million in 2024. That's a loss of over $4 million, not even accounting for inflation. Come the $3.3 million mortgage she took out during bankruptcy, property taxes, maintenance costs, and 16 years of failed attempts to sell. When you factor in everything she'd spent on that house over 26 years, Sonja lost millions more than the purchase price difference suggests. In July 2024, Sonja officially moved out. She posted a photo of a moving truck outside the townhouse with the caption, "Moving on out." Did you guys think this would never happen? For Real Housewives of New York fans, that townhouse had been a character on the show for 11 seasons. Every dinner party, every pajama party, every business meeting filmed in that living room or basement became part of RHY lore. Sonja's refusal to let go of the house, despite its obvious problems, mirrored her refusal to let go of her identity as Mrs. Morgan, wife to American royalty, member of high society. Sonja purchased a waterfront condo in West Palm Beach, Florida in October 2024, and officially leaving New York behind. She told Page Six the move gave her more self-esteem and that she was excited for her next chapter. She's frequently visiting her best friend Josh Flagg in Los Angeles, walking runways at New York Fashion Week in lingerie at age 60 to prove women can be their best at any age, and focusing on her various business ventures including her fashion line Sonja by Sonja Morgan. But the story of the townhouse took one final bizarre twist in August 2025. Dice Page 6 broke the news that the property had been renovated and was now operating as an upscale sober living facility called Release Recovery, which treats substance abuse and mental health issues. The new owner had told Sonja he planned to live there with his wife. So when she learned it had become a recovery center, her response via text was simply, H. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Sonja's relationship with alcohol had been a constant storyline on Real Housewives of New York. She was known for her champagne-soaked antics, her inability to stop drinking at events, and the season 13 intervention where castmates Ramona Singer, Luan Dipeps, and Leah Mwini confronted her after she got into a physical fight and smashed a glass fire alarm cover. Neighbors on East 63rd Street were not happy about the new sober living facility. Sources told Page 6 that there are so many different people going in and out. At first, we didn't know what was going on. Another source said the house has become an issue in the neighborhood. The house is like Grand Central. Sonja should move back. Some neighbors feared it would affect their property values, but others pointed out the hypocrisy of Upper East Side residents complaining about a recovery center when many of them had their own struggles with alcohol visible at steakhouses and bars around the neighborhood. As for John Adams Morgan, Sonja's ex-husband who owed her $3 million from their divorce that he never paid. He died in February 2025 at age 94. He'd been married 5 times, with Sonja being his 4th wife. At the time of his death, he was married to his 5th wife, Connie. His net worth was estimated at $100 million accumulated through decades in investment banking, merchant banking, and various business ventures. John never paid Sonja the $3 million he owed from their divorce. He died on his private island, still claiming he was destitute while living in luxury. Whether Sonja can collect any of that money from his estate remains unclear, given that he was married to Connie at the time of his death and had children from multiple marriages. The fight over his estate will likely be complicated and lengthy. Sonja may never see a dime of what she's legally owed. Looking back at Sonja's financial collapse, the lessons are clear. Don't mix business with divorce. Don't back out of contracts you've already signed just because your personal life falls apart. Don't hold on to properties you can't afford out of pride or denial. And don't let your ex-husband owe you millions while claiming poverty from a private island. Sonja's bankruptcy and the loss of her townhouse represent one of the most drawn-out financial disasters in Real Housewives history. But through it all, she maintained her humor, her resilience, and her ability to laugh at herself. She may have lost the French chateau, the Colorado ski house, and the iconic New York townhouse, but she kept the Morgan name, her daughter, her dignity, heart, and her place in reality TV history as one of the franchise's most beloved characters. Sonja Morgan's journey from American royalty to bankruptcy to finally letting go proves that sometimes the things we cling to destroy us. 16 years, millions lost, and one townhouse that became a sober living facility. The irony is perfect. Subscribe for more Real Housewives financial deep dives and untold stories.